friends, it's Jeffrey and welcome to my corner and welcome to Quick Tip Tuesday number 17. Well, it's not really a quick tip anymore because last week when I started Quick Tip 16 about creating a base, a diorama base, I realized that you couldn't show these things under 5 minutes, so it took a little longer, so that's why I had to split it up. Now, this is the second one. This is the second part of the diorama build, and in this case we're going to show how to paint it. Again, it's not really a quick tip. It takes a little longer, it takes about 20 minutes, so you can always fast forward. But I will be a little bit more careful next time when I show a quick tip that it really lasts only a couple minutes. So, but for now, there's no way back. We have to bite the bullet. So let's paint this, let's finish this, and then see what the end result will give us. So stay tuned, here we go. So now my base is sitting about 48 hours on my workbench. Everything is dry. And you might notice that I placed some toothpicks here and there, and I did that for the purpose of adding some grass later, or some foliage, or maybe a couple of sticks or whatever I want to do. It's not a big deal when you forgot to put that when the groundwork is still soft, but it helps. So if you decide to add some grass or add some foliage or any obstacles in there, it might be wise to apply a couple toothpicks or anything else that makes a hole in there while the groundwork is still soft. So once your groundwork is painted, then you just remove the toothpicks and replace it with, in this case, I'm going to put some plucks of deer skin here and there to simulate high grass. And then that will take care of it, so I don't have to drill the holes anymore. Now, before we apply the dark brown base coat, we're going to make sure that we cover all the edges. We're going to leave those blank, so we have to make sure that we apply masking tape all around so we don't have any overspray, because the main purpose, of course, is to keep some edges here and there. So let's apply masking tape before anything else. So there you go, we have the whole thing covered. So now we're gonna apply some paint. We're gonna apply a base coat of dark brown and cover the whole area. I'm going to do this with Vallejo's chocolate brown. Again, it doesn't have to be this color. You can also mix sand with black, as long as it's a natural dark color or a dark brown color. I'd have to add a little bit of black. So now we're going to apply it generously all over the area, all over the base. Now you will notice that some of the grass will come loose or some of the pebbles will move, but it's no big deal. Just be careful. The first layer you do, just be careful that you don't get too close or your air pressure is too high. So, but after you've done the first coat, everything will stay in place. Gently go back and forth until you get the whole thing covered. Actually, I should not have let these things on there because I need those later and I don't want to color those, so I'm going to take those off real quick. I shouldn't have left those off, but I forgot. So there we go. This brown base color is just to create some shadowing, but we're going to add a lot of other stuff on top of this, plus some pigments. And of course, last but not least, we're going to add the snow. So, but for now, I think we covered it, most of it. And now we're just gonna go lighter every time. So we're gonna choose a couple lighter colors, a couple lighter browns, maybe some lighter pigments, and then we're gonna build ourselves up. But for now, we got it pretty well covered. So the second color we're gonna apply, and it's gonna be a sand color. For this purpose, I'm just gonna use like a Vallejo sand gray. I think it's like Israeli Defense Force sand gray. And that's what I'm gonna try to get some color nuances in there. Now in this phase, what you want to do, you want to hold it a little bit, your airbrush a little bit under an angle, so you really don't go straight down, because you want to create some sort of a depth perception. So very gently hold it in a little bit of an angle. Stay away from the rocky areas here. Just stay in the middle, because what we try to accomplish is that we're going to have like some sort of a graveled road. And you can already see that the effect it's giving. All the details that we embedded in there, that we made imprints of, starts to pop up. So it's very important that you hold it under an angle. Never go down straight, but always go in a slight angle, so you create a little bit of depth perception. Same here. So first of all, here we have the result of two colors. First of all, we put down a dark brown color, like a chocolate brown color, a little mixed with a little bit of black from Vallejo, and then of course, to highlight some of the stuff, just to recreate some like a traveled road or a graveled road, we use the IDF Israeli sand color. It's like a sand gray kind of a primer, but again, you can do this with any other gray or any other sand. It all depends what you want and what color nuances you want to put on there. This is only two colors we have put down, and we can already see how it's going to look and what the effect is going to be. So now we're going to add some more colors. First of all, I would like to accentuate the grass area here and there. Remember we put some grass on there in the beginning, and so now we're going to accentuate here and there some of the grass. So now we're going to try to simulate or at least accentuate the grass areas. Remember, we sprinkled some static grass here and there that's embedded into the groundwork. And now we're going to bring those up. So we're going to add a green color to it, and eventually we go lighter by adding yellow to it. So I'm going to start with this. Again, it doesn't really matter what kind of a green you're using. If you have something like an olive green or something that looks like a natural grass color, you're perfectly fine to use that. For this case, I'm just going to use olive green from like a Russian green actually, and then eventually, like I said, I will add some yellow to make some highlights. So. Now be very careful when doing that. Don't overdo it. Now if you overdo it, you can always go back with the previous colors, but the main idea is just to do it in one single session, so you don't have to go back to the other colors. So very gently here and there, accentuate the green. And you can tell it starts already to get to take shape. Actually, it already tells the story that we want to achieve. You know, you already get the color nuances, you already can see the gravel, you can see the plucks of grass, and of course here the rocky area. Now in the rocky area we're gonna simulate a little bit, maybe some sandstone color, or a little bit of dust that we can recreate, maybe a brownish kind of a sand color, just to set that apart. But for now, I think we already achieved what 90% of our initial plan. So let me add some yellow to the green here and try to get a little bit more color nuances where the grass is supposed to be. Now, a general rule is for groundwork, it does not really matter what kind of colors you use or what kind of brand colors you use. You can use Vallejo, you can use Tamiya, you can use Mission Models, MIG, any color will do. For a groundwork, it's not really necessary if you per se work with acrylics or enamels, it doesn't matter. Of course, you want to use flat colors, like applying a gloss color might not really look right, so you start from the beginning with flat colors. Once again, this base is just a simple base. This is not really a big diorama. No, this is just a very simple way to create a natural environment base to put a model on display. And every time you add like a lighter color on top of it, try to stay in the middle and work your way out, so you're basically fading your accentuating color every time. And I think I have to even apply some more yellow. And if by accident you go too far, again, you can always add a little bit darker to it. So this is as far as I want to take it with the green on the grass, because after all it's a winter diorama, and in wintertime of course the grass is all dead and discolored. So, but for now I think this is where I wanted to take it. So now I'm going to accentuate maybe a little bit around the rocky area, and that should be it. And the way it looks now, it would be perfectly fine to put my armor piece on there and it would look just great. So this is the result of only 3-4 colors and under 15-20 minutes, and you already got a really nice color difference, a color nuance. All the detail is popping up. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to add maybe some brown sand color around the edges here, around the rocky areas, and then of course then it's up to some washes and pigments and putting the final touch down. But so far so good. This is the result of only 3 colors, actually 4 colors. To accentuate the rocky area, I'm going to go back to the sand, the IDF sand gray from Vallejo that we started with at the beginning to simulate the gravel throat. I'm just going to apply that a little bit more, and then I'm going to add some light gray from Vallejo just to make the rocks pop out more. And then that's it. That's all we're going to do as far as spray, as far as airbrushing. Very gently, again, we start from the middle, working our way out to the sides. And that should be it. That should be enough as far as the airbrush is concerned. As you can tell, it already looks quite the look. So now we're gonna let this dry. We're gonna let this dry for, I'm gonna wait at least about 12 hours. But the next step, what we're gonna do is gonna apply some of the washes, some of the earth washes, and then eventually the pigments. That should not really take very long because we got most of the work done right now. So tomorrow is just that. We're gonna get some of the kind of a feel like when everything flows into each other. I mean, everything has to flow into the whole thing. And then Then we're going to sprinkle some pigments over it, and of course what I'm most looking forward to is applying the snow, because after all this is going to be a snowscape. So let's put this down for several hours, and then we'll come back in a little bit and then finish the whole thing. So we're back. I had it dry about 12 hours, and so it's time to apply some of the washes, some oils, and of course some pigments. But first of all, I'm just going to remove the toothpicks now, just to make it a little simpler. So now we are ready to apply some of the washes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a darker wash, and I like to work with enamels. So I have a couple washes here. One is for, this is like a dark brown. It's actually a wash for US modern vehicles, but it has like a dark brown, dirty kind of a color. And that's what I'm gonna try to use to get some shadowing between the rocks, and where basically the rocks fade into the grass. So I'm gonna do this a little generously. You really don't have to add thinner with this. You can, if you mix it really well, you can use it straight out of the bottle actually. And then we're just gonna accentuate a little of the brown around the rocks, like this. And because we painted it, all you need to do is just apply the wash gently, and it will spread out by itself because it's thin, and the paint and also of course the pumice will absorb the wash and just distribute it the right way. We might have to go a little darker here and there with a darker wash. Maybe we'll use some oils. So all you want to do with the washes around the rocky area is to separate basically the big rocks from all the debris that's around it. Yeah, you have to give it a little bit of shadow effect. We can also add some extra depth to the road itself, to accentuate the imprints we made. What I'm going to do now, so I'm going to add some oil paints, some raw umber and some smoke, and I'm going to mix that with some white spirit, and then I'm going to do one more round of accentuating all the crevices that's in between, and probably get more like a deeper shadow than it is right now. But from the way it looks like right here, I don't really have to do much more than just adding this and the snow, and then we're done. Once we applied some of the oil, we're going to try to blend it into the rest, like this, very gently. As you can tell, you can really already see the effect. It starts to look really the look. So with this step, with the raw umber oils, you wanted to try to recreate, first of all, you wanted to get the sharpness off. You don't want to, when you paint those rocks, I mean, they look too bright. So you want to subdue that. But also, you want to make it blending into the whole diorama, but more importantly, when you look at rocks that are exposed to the elements for a long time, they get some sort of a greenish, mossy look on it. And this is the perfect color to do this, or the perfect method to recreate that. We will go over it one last time with some gray, with some highlights, a little dry brushing very faintly, but I can already tell that this is the look that I'm aiming for. So maybe sometimes you can even use a piece of cloth. So now let's do this side. So now that we're done applying the oils in the rocky areas and blending it, now I would like to do the final touch, which is basically to highlight it a little bit. And we're doing that with some light gray. I got this light gray from Vallejo, what we used before. It's like sky gray, but any gray will do. And then I put some in a little bit in a cup, and then we're gonna dry brush this actually. Very gently, just the tips. Maybe already too much. And then we're just gonna work it so the tips of the rocks will be highlighted. During this process, you will immediately notice that it really starts to look like a rock. And that's as far as you have to take it. Just apply a very light touch of highlighting with some gray, and there you go. So in the beginning of the video, and we mentioned it through the video, that we were also going to apply some pigments on there, but after I got this far already, and the way I looked at it, I don't think it's even necessary to apply some pigments. I don't think it's really necessary, especially because we're going to add the snow on top of it. So adding pigments on a snow diorama in this case wouldn't make much sense. So I'm just going to leave it like it is, applying the snow. But before I do that, I'm going to put some grass in a couple positions, and I'm also going to put all the little branches that I took off. I'm going to reapply those so we can cover the whole thing with snow. The way we apply the grass is taking a little bit of fur, like deer fur, and just rip off a pluck like this. And then of course you can make these as long as or short as you want, but in this case we want to keep it rather short. And then basically this is what you get. So what you do now, you add a little bit of Elmer's glue on the tip here so it stays together, so it doesn't spread too much, like this. And then we'll put it in place. Just like that. It's quite the look. You don't even have to paint it or nothing. Deer hair is quite the natural look of grass. Or at least dried up grass or dead grass. Now, if you want to be sure, you might have to add a little bit of maybe some Elmer's glue, some extra Elmer's glue in place so it doesn't really move anymore or doesn't come loose. Another thing I want to add, and this is crushed leaves with the coffee blender. I think we talked about that in another quick tip where you can crush dried leaves in a coffee blender and you get this kind of a debris. It also has a really natural look, so I'm going to apply a little bit all around it, strew it on there. Especially around the tree area here. Of course, the main ingredient is the snow, and we're going to use micro balloons for that because micro balloons are really light. They're a little bit of a pain to work with, but once they're applied, they really look like micro balloons, or even any other product as far as to simulate snow. You have to be really careful. Now, I found out of my own experience, when you look at at pictures and when you look at of course documentaries from the winter time, you know, most of the time in real winter time everything is covered with snow, but then if you do that on a diorama, it does not really look right. You have to balance it a little. So although you might depict a scene where there's a lot of snow, you still can't do that, at least to my experience. But if you put some snow in the right areas, in the right spots, you can create an effect that really looks like it's cold, you know, like a cold effect. And that's what I like to do. I don't like to cover my whole diorama with snow. I only like to cover certain spots or on the rocks or here and there where some of the groundwork is pushing through. And it looked like there was like more like a dust snowstorm. Like whenever you have a little light snowstorm for days, you can see that when you look at the area, the ground is still basically coming through, but you have a lot of snow dispersed all over the place. And that's actually the diorama I want to create. I just want to create a base after a light snowstorm. Now, before we apply the micro balloons, we have to have a plan of action. We have to make sure that we have areas that we want to cover more than others. And it's especially true on these rocks here, because you want to keep the micro balloons on there. So the best thing to do is to add some Elmer's glue. Like you can mix some Elmer's glue with water and then spread it where the micro balloons really have to stay on, where the snow is actually has to be packed. And so let's do that first. So this is just regular Elmer's glue or wood glue. So I'm gonna gently apply it to the tips here and maybe have it feathered out to the sides. Not too much, just a little bit. Just make sure that the snow will stick. Do this section first, because you don't want to do the whole thing. You just want to work in sections, especially with applying the snow, because it's micro balloons are very unpredictable. Like I said, they really fall like real snow, but still you have to be really careful that you don't overdo it, because else you're going to create too much work or extra work. So I put some in a cup here, and then I gently just gonna let it snow. And the best thing to do is blow it a little off, just very gently. And then, as you can tell, the snow will stay. As you can tell, the snow will stay wherever you applied the Elmer's glue. So now we got these two rock formations here, and I don't know if you can see it, but it looks quite realistic. I will post some pictures from the finished diorama at the end of this video, but I think you get the drift where I'm going to. So now I'm just going to be very careful and put some more on there. Not too much, just enough to create that really wintry scene. With everything else, it's just trial and error. You have to try it once and then learn from your mistakes. But this is pretty forgiving. Like I said, there is not much that can go wrong. You can always take it off and reapply it. But I think this is where I'm going to keep it. It looks pretty satisfactory to me, so I'm going to leave it at that. Now the main thing is now we have to cover it with hairspray. So what you do is you get some hairspray And of course, you have to do this from a distance. So don't do it like this because you blow everything off. Just let it fall on there. I'm going to try to, because my camera is not doesn't really allow me to do that. But I'm just going to just gently put some hairspray on, and once the hairspray is on, then everything will stay in place. Okay folks, that was it. Hope you liked it. Like I said, it's not all that difficult to do, and but it's like with everything else, it's trial and error. Once you do something and you make a mistake, you'll do it better next time. But coming to making a diorama base, it's not that intimidating. It's a pretty straightforward. It's not all that hard to do, so give it a shot. Next time we will also come back and show you how to apply snow on a vehicle, but that's for a different video. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that. Again, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to like us and share us on Facebook. And most importantly, please don't forget to go to our website at www.jeffvcornerstore.com for all your future purchases. And then other than that, I just have to wish you all well, and I'll see you guys next time on another Quick Tip Tuesday or live on Sunday at 7 o'clock Central Time. For now, Jeff V here, signing off.